Okay. Uh, it's 2:02, so I will just get started. First, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday break. Thank you for joining us for our first regular stakeholder work group meeting in a bit. I know last year was kind of a crunch for us as we worked to deliver the interim needs assessment, which the final interim report has been posted online on the commission's website, and it is there for you to view. Laura, would you be able to go to the oh, agenda slide, please? So I just wanted to do a few welcomes and actually introductions. Um, I wanted to let everyone know that the consultant that we are working with is NCE. I may have mentioned that back in maybe our November 30th workshop, but I wanted to formally introduce Linda Pierce, who is going to be the project manager on the NCE side, and NCE will be taking on a much bigger role in the assisting us with the development of the complete needs assessment report that is due January 1st, 2025. Margot Yap is also on board, and I believe many of you have worked with Margot and team on the local streets and roads report. So we're very excited to have Linda and Margot here with us today. One last really quick introduction. I do have one of our student assistants with us today, Nina, who just joined our team and will be helping me prepare and send out a lot of meeting invitations and notes on the Senate Bill 11 efforts. So I wanted to take time to just introduce everyone or reintroduce NCE to those who did not know that they would be working with us on the Senate Bill 11 effort. Next, in terms of webinar logistics, this meeting is being recorded and we will post this online after today's meeting. So all materials will be accessible after the meeting concludes. So just look for all the information on our website under the Senate Bill 1121 webpage. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or email me directly. Next slide, Laura. So in terms of the final Senate Bill 1121 interim report, I just wanted to highlight, broad changes that we made or high level sort of changes that we made in the interim report as it was finalized. We provided additional language on the California High-Speed Rail Plan and project development information. We provided additional information on the state climate targets, clean transit regulation, and executive orders on carbon neutrality and locomotive zero emission transition for the state. We provided clarifying language and methodology assumptions in Chapter 4 of the revenue outlook. We worked really hard with Caltrans. Well, I should say Caltrans budget worked really hard with us to provide us that language to make it more understandable for everyone. And last, one of the broader things that we did provide a little more information in Chapter 5 regarding the scope and next steps for the development of the full needs assessment or the complete needs assessment, as we call it. So there's just, those are the really high level sort of changes that we made in the interim report. As you go look at it online or for you to review, all changes have been highlighted in yellow. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me and I can schedule a meeting directly with you to discuss those changes that were made. We also included in the book item for the interim report that will be presented at the commission meeting next week, all the formal comment letters that we received on the interim report. So that's all included in the book item as well. So I'm going to pause here and see if anyone has any questions. I don't see any in the chat. But feel free to ask any questions in the chat and we can go through that. Next slide, please, Laura. So one of the questions I did have, and I'm going to see if I can, I don't know if everyone can see the poll. I don't think I started it, but I wanted to ask everyone how they felt about the meeting frequency. I don't think we met very frequently, so I'm just going to ask this verbally and see if you prefer meeting monthly or every other month or as needed. That's kind of how I was viewing it. I think currently we had aimed to do it every 3 weeks, but I think it ended up being more on a almost as needed basis as we were working to develop the interim report. So that's the only question I had. Okay, monthly is okay. And feel free to type that in the Q&A, everyone, because I think the chat's disabled. So. And then, well, Laura, I'll just go to the next. Oh, the schedule, yeah. We'll go to the tentative schedule that we have laid out. So this is what we have tentatively laid out right now in terms of meeting frequencies and when we will be having some of the workshops. We are anticipating having a technical workshop for Senate Bill 1121 next month. I will be sending out an email to everyone when the registration links are going to be posted. The dates are February 16th and 21st that we've scheduled, and they are virtual. So please register for the date that best fits your schedule. The intent of the workshop is to kind of go over the information that we received from our transportation partners on the extended RTP survey that we sent out on the fiscal needs and analysis. So we'll be talking about that, and also finally getting into the revenue projections. So NCE is working off of or building off of some of the work that our former staff member, Hannah Walter, worked on, and our other student assistant, Pam, worked on as well. So we're building off on that, and we are also analyzing or taking into consideration LAO's report that came out last month in December. So that will be included as part of our discussion for the technical workshops that are going to be virtual next month. In terms of what's happening in the winter, we'll still have our ongoing stakeholder meetings monthly or as needed is fine. And we are also going to try to set up office hour meetings after the technical workshops through the spring to touch base with our stakeholders specifically on the technical analysis if they have questions or additional sort of information or data that you would like to share with us. So those are going to be what we're hoping to do through the winter and into the early spring. In terms of spring, yes, Robert, the RTP surveys went out, and I'm currently awaiting information from SCAG right now. So I touched base with SCAG. I hope that answers your question. And so in terms of policy recommendations, the development of our policy recommendations and sort of the discussions are going to be occurring in the spring. We haven't settled on a date yet. One of the things that we're hoping to accomplish is to have a virtual workshop and also an in-person workshop. And so we really want to check in with the stakeholder group to see how everyone feels about attending in person if possible. I think it would be fantastic to kind of really be able to sit down and really have an in-person discussion with as many people as possible. And the other option is, if you cannot attend, we'll be hosting a virtual workshop there. So that will be focused again on sort of formulating our policy recommendations. Nothing will be set in stone yet, but this will be building off of our technical workshops, is essentially what we've gleaned out of there. We'll provide regular updates at the commission meeting in March and May. There's nothing up for adoption there. And then again, ongoing stakeholder work group meetings. In terms of summer, we're really going to start beginning the development, big portions of the report. And I think in the next stakeholder work group meeting, we might be able to go over sort of more of an outline as to what that might look like for the report. So I'll be working with NCE there, and we'll be sharing more specific information. But the summer is when I think everything will be really pulled together, and we're starting to fill out the report. We'll provide updates at the June and August meeting, and again continue having ongoing stakeholder workshop meetings. And we will have additional meetings on any technical and policy topics as needed. So I think if there are any follow-up questions or comments based on stakeholder meetings, and specifically after a policy recommendation workshop, we'll post, we're happy to have specific meetings as needed in the summer. And then in the fall, we'll release the draft Senate Bill 1121 complete needs assessment, host a public workshop, and then provide updates at the commission meetings. So October, we're hoping to present a draft of the complete transportation needs assessment, and in December adopt it, and then transmit it to the legislature on January 1st, 2025. So that is generally how the timeline is falling here, just broken into sort of the seasons or quarters, I guess, of the year. So I'm going to pause here to see if anyone has additional questions on our tentative schedule for the complete needs assessment. No. Okay.
Hey,
Uh-huh.
Miss Kelly.
Oh, I see a hand raised. Martha. Hi, Martha. You can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
I do have a question. Okay, I may be like totally off the mark, but when we're having these discussions with we're saying stakeholders, and I know I'm on this because of the EAC, are we actually, is this session open to other stakeholder groups? And if
Yes.
so, I mean, who's on this call? And why are we not able to see who's on the call? I mean, in a matter of transparency and understanding and being equitable and inclusive, we don't have a ability to see who's on the call. And that's important to be able to know who actually participated in the structure or formation of this, work group and its policy. And is it something that is just the way you've always done things, or because I'm looking at like best practices, and some of these things that I participate in, I kind of leave me baffled, and how you're not letting others know like who's on and whatnot.
So I think it's the way we chose to set up the Zoom meeting. So it's a webinar. And so I think it may not, I'll have to double check the settings, but I don't know if people can see who the attendees are on the attendees side. but I'll double check, Martha, on the settings. I think in a regular Zoom meeting, it's a little more informal, so it's a little easier to see who's on the call in terms of who's participating.
But the only reason I'm saying this is because like to really be able to say that you have engagement, true engagement, you'd want to be able to see what other groups are contributing and who's at the table. And in this way, I mean, like, yeah, you're giving the information and it's, you know, very well presented, by the way, but I just feel that to be able to have that engagement portion, I guess, you'd want to be able to see what other stakeholders are present, and if any.
Okay. Sorry, I think I might have missed the very last thing you said, Martha. You may have been clipped or cut out briefly due to
So
technology.
what I was saying is basically, in order to really establish a good group or robust engagement with other stakeholders, it would be a benefit to be able to see and interact and to know who's on the call, so that you can actually see who contributed to the formation of said document. You know,
Okay.
at this point, all I know it's you speaking, and I don't know who else is here. So to really be able to say that there were other participants in the formation of that, you'd want to know who's there. And I'm just saying, moving forward, could it be something that we could include? Or is this the way things are always done through, you know, this group?
There is definitely a way
Francis, before that.
I know I ruffle feathers, but I'm asking
No.
questions because this is really kind of where I want to understand how things are done. You know?
Martha,
Oh, no.
Martha,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
totally fine.
this is Margot. Yeah. When you click on participants, do you not see the list of participants?
No, I don't. And in the email, I only see like myself. So I know that you're reaching out to others, but I mean, just as a lay person, and I'm looking at this, I would want to know what other groups are here, like who else is at the table in this decision-making, you know, formation, because I'm listening and I see it's a great, you know, timeline, but I'd want to know, are people just other stakeholder groups here?
So, Martha, this is Laura Pennybaker. Hi. Thank you for raising this issue because it's also something, to be fully honest, staff is struggling with right now. So this is a technology issue, not like an intentional organization.
No. And I don't think of it that way. I'm just being, how do I say, trying to understand. That's really what it is. It's not anything to say that it's an intentional omission or deletion or not being inclusive. That's why, but in order to have that, I would assume that that would be something that would be part of the process. That's all.
What I would like to propose that commission staff work with and work with NCE and also like any other folks on this group who regularly use Zoom. What I would like us to do is figure out the right configuration for this meeting so that, for example, anyone who is a attendee can see the full attendee list. And then I think it will also be important for us to establish each attendee's like affiliation. So Francis and I will work on how we can implement that format at our next stakeholder meeting. It might just be a matter of using a slightly different like format of the Zoom platform. And I also think we might be able to grab information from the folks who registered in terms of who all is on in their organization. So that is absolutely something we'll do. We'll endeavor to do moving forward. And I think what might be helpful when folks speak or type of question in the chat, or to just identify the organization you're with, and then that will also help us learn in the meantime.
Right, most definitely. Thank you so much. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, it was a good comment and question, Martha, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any additional questions or comments anyone has on our report timeline, tentative, like there'll be more specific dates, obviously, as we move forward. But this is again how it's broken out currently, and it's one that I continue to use and will fill out as we move along in the development. And Martha, I just want to make sure if your hand's still up, so I just want to make sure that if you have an additional question. Oh, okay. So I think I may have I guess Laura, next slide, please.
Okay, so that was the content that we had wanted to walk through with you all, just to reflect sort of where we're at in terms of the interim report getting finalized and approved at our commission meeting on January 25th and 26th. And then the path forward for launching right into the full needs assessment. That will be getting rocking and rolling over the course of this next calendar year. So some things that we heard today that we want to make sure we take on our advisement is to try and make this forum a bit more inclusive in terms of being able to understand who's participating in the work group and understand the affiliation. So we'll follow up with more information on who was on this particular stakeholder working group meeting and work on getting our Zoom platform dialed in for upcoming meetings. In terms of next steps, Francis and I really want to thank all of the agencies that have been filling out their the request for multimodal transportation needs and projected revenues, and sharing that information back with us. That's going to be really fundamental to preparing the assessment. And so Francis will be following up with folks individually as needed to help complete all those surveys. And then wanted to flag that in terms of sort of like the immediate next steps, we do have the technical portion of our work group starting, and those invites went out. Francis, do you have the date of the next just regular stakeholder working group meeting, like not the technical working group meeting?
So the next one is technically on Thursday when it was scheduled for tri-weekly, but I have to cancel that because that's our commission meeting. Okay. Based on doing monthly, are in about 4 weeks. I could have one on, let's see, the 5th, the 8th. I can start on February
8th. We'll aim to, thanks, Francis. We'll aim to establish a monthly, just general stakeholder working group meeting, which is what this is. We talk about the process and we cover this effort just more generally. And then the technical working group, that's going to kick off on February 16th and meet again on the 21st. And those invites have gone out. If you are not part of that group, if you are interested in that conversation, you can send Francis or I a note. We developed the Francis, did we get out of order? Why am I doing outreach and next steps right now?
I think I may have put that out of order on myself. I realize that.
I don't think we need to cover. We can just going. Yeah. Sorry, that momentarily threw me off. So yeah, so basically as the technical work begins, we've been trying to identify folks from regional agencies and other places to help really dial in the projections and being able to compile the 10 years of projected multimodal transportation needs. And so that conversation, as Francis said, is going to get going in February. So really, I think if there's any, if anyone has any sort of final thoughts or questions on the interim assessment, please let us know, since that will be going to the commission for adoption next week. And then we definitely want to keep the momentum going in terms of rolling right into the full assessment. So I just wanted to acknowledge Priscilla's note in the chat or in the Q&A that meeting notes would be helpful. So we'll work on being able to provide some kind of summary. And that was what I had for wrap up and next steps. Are there any other questions? Or Francis, did I miss anything? Okay, I am not seeing any hands. I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A. I'm gonna just briefly go to Francis and my contact information in case anyone wants to grab our emails.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming in to see what the development and timeline for the full needs assessment will be. And we will be sending out the registration links for the February technical workshops very soon. So be on the lookout for multiple emails from myself and commission staff. Have a good afternoon, everyone.